Welcome to a special episode of Backchat. We're here with the Fnatic crew. It's Mystic and Magnum, the double M squad, who've managed to roll up here, and we're going to go through a bunch of different stuff in this episode. We're not just going to be talking about Fnatic. You can check the timestamps. We're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff that's just been released into the game. But first of all, how are you two doing? How's life been post Iceland? Have you been craving the saunas and the saloons and stuff like that? The lagoon?
I mean, we had like a couple of weeks off, so it was a nice break. Like prior to that, we had like 2 months of just constant grind and stuff like that. So yeah, we had our break. We're back on the grind now. For me, England, it's been generally hot, but until now, it's just been like raining for a week, like the past week where I am. So normal English weather. But I heard that Magnum and the other boys have been complaining about the heat stroke and stuff like that. So I haven't stopped hearing about it.
Yeah, I remember I was so excited. I was saying like on Malta in my head that I'm excited to get back home because it was so hot there. And I arrived back home and it's like 37 degrees Celsius here, so it's kind of crazy. I'm molding.
Yeah,
yep, feels like Texas. By the way, I'm glad that we got the memo here, and all of us are just wearing black. We look like a barbershop quartet, some sort of theater group. It's really adorable. Good job, boys.
We've also, yeah. I mean, if we swap places as well, I feel like it would mirror the kind of the bass going up to the high notes as well. It's just that us two are in the wrong places, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Mystic's definitely going for the baritone, you know. If you were doing this, you look like the kind of person that would be killer at a sea shanty, you know?
Sea shanty. Funny story about that. You know, like that song about the sea shanty one. It was like, what was it?
I mean, there's a lot of sea shanty songs.
No, but basically, we were gonna like the idea was if there was a walkout song for Reykjavik, we would have had like some sea shanty song that we're just all gonna walk out to.
That would have hit.
That sounds incredible. Oh, before we get into any of this as well, since you've brought it up, I want to ask you about these insane team celebrations and stuff like that. Oh, I imagine a lot of them come from Boaster because he's off the goop 24/7.
Yeah.
He's an insane individual, although really funny. Was some of those coming from other people? I heard that one of them came from the manager, and like, did other of you get caught up in it? And you're like, Boaster, I've got an insane idea. We've got to pull it off.
Yeah. I think so. Basically, on the morning of our games, like we had breakfast together, and it was like we came up with like, all right, what celebration should we do today? Because we thought in the back of our heads, like having the mindset of like playing towards a celebration, like you think like you're gonna win, you're playing to win, so like sort of thing. And obviously Boaster had is a couple of the walkouts. Yeah, we had Boaster had a couple of ideas. The first one where we the first one was like we checked the IDs, and me and Dom were like pretending to be like the bodyguards, the bouncers to like a club.
Yeah.
And like we didn't let Boaster in. There was another one. It was like The Voice, where we were like we grouped up as a 4, and like we slammed the buttons. That was my idea. I like that. That was my idea. And then I think our team director Colin, because he's American himself, like did the wave, like the wave playing goodbye thing.
The North American one. Yeah. NA near airport. Yeah, I can tell you the chat was loving that one because they were spamming that copy paste to the left, right, and center. It definitely feels like Valorant has got in the League of Legends fans from Riot that just have all of these anti-North American spams that they like to put in. Were you getting into it as well, Magnum?
Yeah, I just remember like it was so crazy. Like it's just Boaster things, and I remember like what did we do? We wanted like to DM actually like Liquid, but then we said like it's you team and we should like be like a brother, so we just respected them.
Okay, all right.
We saluted them, right?
Yeah,
we gave him the little salute. Oh, here we go. It's a little wheelbarrow. we just came up with that on the fly. It was like, I think the guy that was like directing like the walkout and everything. Was like, you should just do a wheelbarrow, and I was like, yeah, go on then, Boaster. And I was like, yeah, go on then.
I like as well, if you go to the beginning of that one, you see Penny look at them with just such confusion. If you roll back the wheelbarrow,
he's coming out with like a version 1 flag.
He's coming out with a version 1 flag, and he looks over.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, in the back of his head, he's like, "We lost to these guys," kind of thing. It's like, but yeah, it was
I like
good
it.
fun.
You get the fear in their head early. You know, it's like when people advise that if you ever get in a fight, just start stripping off because no one wants to wrestle a crazed naked idiot. And I feel like at the very beginning, you're setting in their heads that you guys are maniacs, just absolute maniacs. I loved it. It was a lot of showmanship. It was very fun.
And there's the psychological factor. They're already preparing to win.
Sure,
They've already
definitely.
got the win. The win is expected.
Yeah.
We've already got the celebration planned out.
I love him. I love him.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember like there was moments like it was still like actually the match was still going, and it was like 5v3, and Doma was like, "What are we doing? What are we doing for celebration?" And we were still playing the game. Osri's like, "Shut up, man! We are playing."
I like that. Okay, before we're going to return to Masters 2 definitely later on down the episode, but at the very beginning of the interview, we wanted to talk about some of the big changes that had happened recently within the game because they are enormous. Not just the patch change, but the release of the new agent as well, which isn't going to be in for your first qualifier run, but I assume that you've had an opportunity to look at them and kind of see how they play as well. KO is coming in as like an anti-utility agent. I think they call it suppression, right? Is the like word they're using to describe what happens when you get hit by the knife or the ultimate.
Yes. Yeah, it's suppressed.
What are your first impressions?
I think it's kind of too strong. Like the free ability with the knife where you can suppress them, that can just cancel out a Raze ulti or like a Jet ulti for 8 seconds, and I just feel that that's not like how the game should be like laid out. It's like in the way we look at it is like trading utility, pieces of utility, and you've saved up now 8 orbs, I think it is, to get a Raze ulti.
Yeah.
Saved up 8 orbs to enter a site, and then a knife comes out of nowhere, and your ult's gone, and you're most likely dead. So
I mean,
So,
the
yeah.
knife is okay, but the ult, like its range, like it's insane, and you are just suppressed. And it's exactly what they said, that you have to rely on your aim. Like, and for me as a sentinel, I'm just scared because like there is gonna be guy ulting. If I kill him, he's gonna get revived, and like I cannot use anything.
Yeah.
Also, if you're playing Killjoy, for example, Magnum, and then you get hit by one of that suppressed
Yeah, Killjoy will
knife things, you can't pop your mollies, or your turret and
exactly.
whatnot are deactivated. So yeah, it's a hard counter for the Sentinels, but it'll be exciting in my opinion. Like I always like change, meta changes and stuff like that. It keeps the game fresh,
Yeah.
When we were looking at him, we were doing our previous episode at the same time as he was
this trailer
announced. Yeah, it was the same time this trailer
came
dropped.
out.
So we hadn't really seen how he played because the content creators and the pros hadn't been releasing their videos yet. And we assumed that you needed line of sight for the knife to work. But it goes through walls, it goes through everything, and it has a really big radius, which is so powerful compared to how I was expecting it to work. I thought it would be a bit like a recon dart where you have to get tagged by it to get suppressed. And that to me seemed to be, all right, it's somewhat powerful, but it's not too bad. This is like crazy. And it gives you information on who you've suppressed.
That's what I've been going back and forth on in my mind, is whether or not the information gained by it might be too much as well. Just the fact that you see which agents are suppressed. Like if you see that the enemy team's Sentinel is suppressed and they're anchoring a site, I mean, that is crucial, really crucial info, which might be too strong of info to have. But
whereas you mean if they got suppressed, but the other team didn't know, so they had to take a risk.
If they got suppressed and you just heard his line that says, like, whatever he says, they are suppressed. He says something like that. Like if you just heard that line, maybe, but didn't see which agents specifically were suppressed, with the little HUD pop up,
sure,
maybe that would be a bit more fair. I'm not sure. It's tough to say until we see it in pro play, but it seems like the consensus right now is that he's probably going to be too strong.
And as well, like this character can like honestly replace Duelist in my eyes, because like the flashes are actually like godlike, because you can get like
that being the kind of team compositions moving forwards. A lot of people have been predicting I hate the terms that Riot uses, but double initiator, meaning just people running KO and Sova or something like that moving forwards, or KO and Sky, or some way in which he doesn't necessarily replace a Sky or a Sova in your comp. He instead replaces one of the duelists, and every team is just running solo Jet and KO Sky or KO Sova, something like that. Is that your feel of where the meta is headed?
Yeah, I feel like that we're gonna see like a lot of KO because, as I said, it's super OP. Like if it's gonna not get nerfed, I feel like it's gonna have like 90% pick rate on most of the maps.
Like Jet.
That is like Sova.
Like just counters like Sentinels. Like in my eyes, I feel like the Sentinels are going to be stopped playing. I mean, we are just probably like the meta is gonna be like without Sentinels or Sentinels and against KO. I just cannot imagine as a Sentinel like just holding side, and then there is a KO with his ult or with his like dart, and you cannot do anything.
Right.
It's early days though. Like you have to see. Like we're gonna have to see. Like we're definitely gonna have to see how teams play it out. I do agree with the statement of the fact that I think it would be played alongside another info grabbing character, like a Sova, a Sky, whatnot. Like that's kind of what we did on Bind, where we removed that Sentinel and we just added Sky in because it was like we don't think Sentinel's like worth it because like Bind is such a map where you can cover the flanks pretty easily, and add in the ability to get info with Sky flashes or whatnot, just felt like too strong not to have, kind of thing. So
yeah,
in this case, the ability to grab info with the knife as well, and the fact that you can do like so many other things with the other sets of utility, it would definitely be in a lot of teams' compositions.
Who do you think on Fnatic would pick it up if you were to? This isn't. I'm not asking to reveal any data here because you're not going to be playing it in the qualifier. But is there anyone on the team who's excited to pick it up, or either of you two excited to like try it out and see if it fits in? Are you going to give up on Sentinels completely, Magnum, and just become a KO main?
I don't believe that, but it's actually Doma fighting with Darker who's gonna like play.
We actually don't know because I think both would like to like have fun on it. I think we honestly don't know. It's probably down to like Coach Mini and whatnot. So
yeah. One of the other parts of the KO kit is he has the Smolly/Nade hybrid. I mean, it seems. I mean, he has one. It's a good piece of utility, but one of the pieces of discussion around that as well, and this can apply to you as well, Magnum. Being that you play Killjoy, is that if you have a lineup for that, it just destroys a Killjoy ult, and we've seen more and more now as time has gone on and Killjoy's been in the game longer that players on other agents have just found natural counters for the lockdown where
it's been 3 years. It's been 3 years since I saw a successful Killjoy ultimate that wasn't countered in some way.
Yeah, I mean it began with the Hunter's Fury, and now we're at satchels through windows and
wall bangs through every piece of broken texture in the game.
I mean Newturn just doing all types of Lakia just ruining the hopes and dreams of Killjoys everywhere. So
the talk about that Lakia thing, by the way, is like because he did it against us on Haven, right?
Yeah,
so we walked up short, put the ulti down, and it just broke out of nowhere. But,
I was like, "What?
Oh, okay.
Where is it?"
Now, kind of thing. It's like we didn't know this was in the game. It was like, what? So
yeah.
Actually, I remember like the moment I placed the ult and I was like, "What is he doing?" And I was actually laughing in my mind, like, "Why is he shooting to the wall? What he thinks he's gonna do?" And then suddenly he broke my ult. I was like, "What's going on?"
Just hard trolled. Okay, so if you get to tell Riot what to do with Killjoy's lockdown, Magnum, what are they supposed to do? Do they give him more? Does it have more HP? Is it indestructible? What are they?
Actually, I would leave it. I think it's okay, to be honest.
Okay, so you think it's fine that just any piece of explosive utility, whatever, someone has a lineup, they can counter it that way.
Yeah, I think that like each of the like setups should be countered, and I don't want to like see that they have Killjoy ult, for example, on us, and you actually cannot go like retake A because I mean you cannot push A because they will just easily retake it. And I'm happy that they are like the lineups, and it's gonna be harder. But if you're gonna play smart, I think the Killjoy ult is like really good. But what I see, that they actually want to like buff Cypher or make him to being played again like the higher him pick rate because like dashing through the strips like was pain. Like you
Yeah.
just place the trips and it would get destroyed, right? And that buff was actually like OP. And I saw that Killjoy got nerfed like with the turret and what is it called? I call it boombot.
The alarm bot.
Alarm bot. Yeah. Redeployment was like got longer, so I think Cypher is gonna be seen more and more.
Yeah. The Cypher buff so that trips can't be dashed through anymore is pretty... I mean, it's a Jet nerf, I guess, rather than a Cypher buff, but it feels the same either way, because Jet is just a perma-pick, or it has been for a long, long time. So it just felt, yeah, a bit oppressive to try and put up good Cypher utility against it. There were still people trying to play that, but it does feel like it'll edge its way back into the meta a little more. I like Cypher. I think he's extremely good on offense as well. I love seeing pro Cyphers play attack rounds. It feels much more dynamic.
Yeah, definitely. How do you guys feel about... Oh, no, go on.
I also think that Cypher is gonna like be, if there is gonna be Sentinels still played against Chaos, I think it's gonna be the Cypher played, because you can actually like do something with the cages. You can activate them like before they actually attack. And like, what does your like alarm bot and turret does like against Chaos? Nothing.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the Cypher is much better like against Chaos, and I think like dashing through the trips was like, as I said, like it was pain. And now, like for example, split B is gonna be much easier.
Do you think overall that the nerfs to Jet are enough to push her out of being played 80% of the time? I'm saying 80% because I think her pick rate at Masters 2 was 83% of the top, teams from each of the regions, which is, it's kind of crazy. And she's only been out of the meta for a very small period of time. Do you think this really moves the needle on her?
No, I don't think so. Like only what I can see like is the Cypher trivires, and otherwise I don't see anything like. If it's Jet Opera, the Opera got like actually like the price was decreased, so I think it's like it's not that bad like from the.
Sure.
I think as long as she's got a dash, she would probably be played.
Yeah.
Like this trip buff or whatnot. I think teams will find a way to play around it. Maybe add like an updraft dash into the site somewhere else to jump over all the trips or what, and then it becomes like a chess kind of game. It's like between the Cypher and the Jet now. So yeah, I think they increased her Jet smoke price as well to 200 now.
Yeah.
So that's been doubled, and updraft went up by 50.
Yeah, but at the core of her kit, the dash is the important thing, not the smokes and the updraft, right?
I mean, that was just icing on the cake, really. Just getting 100 credit smokes. It was just okay, cool. That's free.
What are your thoughts, both of you, on the overall change? The patch 3.0, the biggest changes have been economical. There are some changes to like walking accuracy and that kind of stuff, but the biggest part of it is that the price of a ton of stuff changed, and most of the prices went up by 50, by 100, by some amount. How do you think that's going to affect the game?
I think we're gonna be seeing more like shooting actually than like spamming abilities. Like it's gonna affect the most, I think, pistols, right? Because like as I was playing like Sky, I always picked up like Frenzy, Doc, and Flash, and now you can actually buy. You're gonna have like Ghost, one Doc, and one Flash. Like it's gonna be much different and harder to play like in pistols. You just won't be able to spam abilities as you did.
Yeah, definitely. How do you guys feel about the AWP change? The 300 credits down.
I think it's kind of a big change because I think Durka said this to me. It was like there's been so many times where he was like 100 credits off 5k and he couldn't get the AWP or save for the AWP. But I think now, I know that like his utility has been upped in price, but I still think if he wanted to save for that AWP, he would get that AWP easier, 100%. Like so for Jet operators, I think it's definitely a good thing. I did feel like the AWP was a little bit overpriced, to be fair. I think this is like a good change, in my opinion.
The biggest thing that I noticed when looking at the patch changes is that it feels like there should be more of a punishing economy now. That if you lose, you're not going to be able to get half buys with good utility and get back into the game as quickly. You're going to have to try and, well, at least in theory, teams are going to have to try and save more, going to have to try and take more eco.
And we won so many pistol rounds, and for example, they always forced after the pistol round and took the round like from us, and I think that's gonna affect. how much money you have. Like you have 2k when you lose the pistol, so it's like half armor and Spectre, and like sometimes you have like extra ability, like for example Jet Smoke, and this is gonna like actually make you that you will have only you're gonna be raw like without any abilities. I think we're gonna be seeing less, really less forces.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like different game. I don't get it. Like why is it so late the update? It's like 6 days till qualify, right?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, well, that's the other aspect of this. The qualifiers are coming up soon.
It is.
and,
I mean,
you
there
know,
are some massive changes in here though as well. Because if you think about the characters that really rely on utility, people like Raze, Sova, that kind of thing, to your price point that you have in your head of like, okay, I can full buy. You now have to increase that by what, 500 or something if you want to buy full utility. You need to think, okay, I don't just need 4K, I need 4.5K in order to just get like half armor. And then if you want full armor, you need a little bit more. So it's kind of wild, yeah. It is wild. It's gonna, I imagine that if you've scrimmed with it, it's gonna shift some things about how you approach the game.
Yeah. Do you think this update has done enough to shake up the meta in regards to the Astra Viper? Or...
Viper, I don't think much has changed with her, right? It's just like the price of her snake bite or something like that. And then I think it's like a 8-second to 6-second now on the mod. I'm not too sure I heard about it, but like, I think Viper might still be played. I feel like she's still viable. Like, Bosa loves his Viper, so I don't know if he'll ever give that up. But in terms of Astra, I think there's a nerf where you can't activate her stars or her ability instantly, like from around. Like you have the stars get placed at the start of the round, and then you can activate them, kind of thing. So that stop. Like for example, in Haven Long A, you could insta drag that corner to pull an AWPer off the angle. Whereas I think now an AWPer can beat that drag, take the angle. So
yeah,
a few little things have happened, and everyone's just gonna have to rethink how they approach game, I guess.
What's that process been like for you guys as you prepare for the qualifier?
I think it's been generally quite smooth. I mean, we've got a good staff behind us, like Mini, both are working their socks off. Recently we were looking into adding an analyst, so that would like developer, support, and yeah, it's been kind of a smooth thing. We've been on the grind, we've been all focused recently. We still have that drive to take home the Berlin. We don't want second places no more. We want that first place. So
yeah.
So we've definitely come back from Iceland with the mentality and winning it this time.
Okay. Breeze is going to be another big change as we come in as well. It was going to be involved in Iceland, but it's not in Iceland, or rather, it got removed from Iceland and got taken out of it.
Riot has added just enough to the game to distract us from the question, what's happening with the 6-map pool?
Yeah.
That question is yet to be answered.
No idea how they're going to resolve that.
I don't think, right?
No, I haven't seen any rule changes. I assume that they're going to release the rulebook pretty soon and we'll be able to see. You guys might even know what's happening with the 6-map pool in terms of a veto, but for us, it feels very clunky and awkward from an outside position.
Yeah, it's definitely awkward. I don't know.
If you've seen something like Kojo sent us something, but I didn't read it. But I think there are like a lot of changes in the veto actually.
Obviously, there's 6 maps. It's going to be weird to like veto it. So
yeah,
it's just
I think if it's like a best of 5, they're going to have to do it like someone's allowed to ban a map or something. I don't know. Like it's hard to tell right now, but I haven't really seen anything from Riot yet. And from like you said, from an outsider's point of view, it'll be weird to look at. But in terms of Breeze, we've been owning it somehow, to be honest. Like we played recently. Yeah, we just went into it recently and we just without much and just started owning it a little bit. So it was like, who knows? We might get all 6 maps down and then.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's actually favorite us like the Breeze as a 6 map because like we have some really strong maps, like for example Icebox and Vine, and I feel like Breeze is gonna be like a lot of teams perma ban since it's such a new and like they have to work on the old maps, so it's gonna like give us ability like to play the Bind, for example, because we played it actually twice in the VCT, and it was against Neuteren and Sentinel. So
yeah, it's kind of crazy how much people stopped you from being able to play bind when it came to Reykjavik. They just removed it repeatedly over and over and over again. So it's good to get that big map pool to force people to play you on some kind of comfort.
It's kind of nice because I think we looked at all the other teams coming into Iceland, and most of them didn't like playing bind at all. So it just literally gave us the ability to just hard grind the other maps and just like maybe like practice a odd bind there just to keep us on our toes and be like freshen up on the map. But like it definitely better suited us because we were just able to really focus on the other maps like Icebox, Haven, whatnot.
Yeah, mainly the
Split as well,
mainly the anti-strat thing for the boys were much easier because we knew that like most of the teams permaban is gonna be bind, and we knew what we gonna bind. So
yeah, that makes sense. Do you like the fact that Breeze is so big and open? It's a very different map to all of the others for that reason. I can't hit a fucking shot to save my life. So I'm losing my mind whenever I pick Breeze because I see a pixel on the other area of the screen and I'm tapping around it with my blind.
Type of person which likes to know like to be consistent in the things that he's doing as a sentinel. So I know like that I've set up there which is working. And now I'm just like filling the gaps, and I don't know what's totally going on. Like so many rounds, I'm just running over the map and just totally lost. But somehow, like we are like kind of owning the teams on it. So I think we're gonna bind something else.
Yeah,
yeah.
Fair enough.
Seems like in Valorant, there's just so many things added all the time. There's new agents coming out constantly. There's new maps coming out. There's patches constantly. There's a lot of updates. So I think there's this thing that happens where these old conversations, they just kind of die, even though they never really met a conclusion. One of those being like, is Icebox a good map? Kind of just, they changed a few things and everybody stopped talking about it because so many things have happened since then.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just kind of the case with like there's so many things happening, there's so many tournaments, we don't have time to nitpick all of the things about all the maps that we do or don't like at this point. But how do you guys feel about the map pool as it stands now? And with Breeze, do you guys think that the maps are good? Overall, bad? What are you guys feeling?
I think they're okay. Like there are some maps like which should be changed. Like for example, I remember when Icebox was added, it was just a Rush A simulator, and now actually when I'm playing ranked, Breeze is same. Like and like by the time the meta is gonna like change, right, and we're gonna know like what to do. But of course, like some maps should be changed. Like for example, I don't really like how Split looks. And I think it should be a bit changed, but it's okay. It's playable.
I think you mentioned Icebox. I would like to see some changes on that B site because that site is just once you get the bomb down, it's kind of like the chaos kind of thing. Like to worry about the Viper after plants and whatnot. So I would like to see some changes on that B bomb site.
I don't really like maps like which makes you to play like one champ. Like with playing Icebox without Sage is actually suicide because you just cannot plan on BA. Almost like if the enemy teams plays it correctly, just delaying you won't be able to plan. And I remember there were some Brazilian teams like playing the actually Icebox on the VCT without the Sage, and when I was watching it, like it was like suicide.
Yeah.
We played against X10. They didn't have a Sage on.
Yeah. It is kind of crazy. I think the B site, to me, it feels very boring as a viewer as well. You're actually one of the only teams that gets a little creative when it comes to the B site. You have that weird Viper ultimate that goes up through the top and like covers the entirety of the top B site, which looks really strange. And then some like some like mid to B pushes as well. But most teams, they take green, then they plant with a Sage wall, and then they back off to yellow, and they just hold there. And it's that every time they push B. And it's dull because you can't take the site, and so you're just playing post plans from yellow all the time. So it's one of my least favorite maps to watch because it feels so formulaic, even though it has advanced a lot from when it was originally released. You know, there's still Magnum working mid, for example, rather than everybody just rushing A all the time. One of the next things I wanted to get into though was what I noticed from watching your run at Masters 2 as well is that a bunch of your players had swapped to playing Phantom at LAN instead of you guys had basically all started on Vandal apart from Magnum, who's the sole Phantom enthusiast. And then over the course of the tournament, especially Doma, but a bunch of your other players as well, had made the transition to playing more and more Phantom online. And I was talking to Doma a little bit about it, but I wanted to get your thoughts too about Phantom v Vandal, especially when it comes to the LAN environment. Because you started on opposite sides of the spectrum. Magnum was using pretty much only the Phantom, and I'm pretty sure, Mystic, you were using like pretty much Vandal, right?
Yeah, it was a weird one. Like for me, I was watching Durkee use Vandal and it looked satisfying. So I was like, I'll give it a go. And I switched to that glitchbot Vandal in the first series against Sentinels, and it felt so nice to play with. Like on that, I don't know, the confidence was there or whatnot. And then towards in the finals, I fully switched to Phantom because I feel like playing as Viper and having that Phantom is better because you're able to like spray through them smokes without the bullet tracers coming through, and generally have that fire rate of higher fire rate, so more bullets coming through. And it just, I don't know, it's more of like a comfort pick, I guess. But right now I'm sticking with the Phantom. I don't know, I've just enjoyed it. So
it's actually so funny. I remember in Malta, like we were all playing Vandals, and Derke came out like, let's play Phantom. So they first started playing Phantoms, and I was only on one.
But no.
But Wyatt just wants to use the Vandal and tap heads.
And especially that's that glitch pop Vandal.
Yeah.
It just feels too good when you're tapping.
What can you do? Something also that Doma was mentioning when he was talking to me, he sent me some DMs after I made a video about the Phantom v the Vandal and used like Doma as an example. But he was saying that on LAN, he found that it was much more consistent to be able to hold angles and kill people with the Phantom. He felt like online, he needed the Vandal to be able to hold that angle, boom, kill somebody in the head, and make sure that they weren't able to get him back. Whereas for him, it was like on LAN, he felt way more comfortable using the Phantom. Is that something that either of you noticed as well? Especially Mystic, I suppose, since you swapped from Vandal to Phantom as the LAN progressed.
yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with the fact that on LAN, holding angles felt just so much stronger. Like I come back home and it just doesn't feel the same at all. Like it's like I have to account for that I don't know, ping delay, you know. But
Yes.
for me, it was the other way around. It felt crisp to hold an angle with a Vandal because it was like they're insta-dead. Like I hold a tighter angle, they're insta-dead. But I think for Doma, he looked at it a different way. And
Sure.
I was going through Dan's stats, and I remember like he's like click the head with Phantom, you just spray them down, like because like to be so consistent with the Vandal, you just have to click the head. But when you miss and trying to spray, sometimes you just whiff because it's Vandal, and with Phantom it doesn't happen like most of the time. You can click the heads as well, like spraying them down, like burst. And if you whiff, you just have the spray, and like it's such an advantage.
Yeah.
All
Still not going to persuade Wyatt.
Still using the Vandal. All great points, but listen, I've spent my money on those skins and I'm not switching.
Just one more point on this topic as well before we move on. Do you still use the Phantom, both of you, when it comes to long-range maps like Icebox or Breeze?
Yes.
yeah, coach has been telling me to use the Phantom.
Okay. Coach
I'm not hearing
been
any of this.
cracking the whip.
I don't care who says it. I'm sticking with the Vandal.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the team's run to Iceland. So the meat and potatoes of what's been happening to Fnatic recently. I want to start with asking Mystic about adding Magnum and Durka to the team, because the last time we had talked to Fnatic, we had Boaster on the show, and this was
just after First Strike
or something.
Yeah, it was after First Strike finals.
Yeah, something like that. And that was the original 5-man squad of Summon FC before you'd even been signed, I think. And there had to be adjustments after that period to be able to really reach the team's potential. Can you talk to me a little bit about the process of adding Durka and Magnum and what the differences were once they were in the team?
To be honest, like coming in with these new two players, especially Durka, they play for themselves a little bit. Like Durka goes off, does his own thing, but he knows he has really good fundamentals kind of thing. It's like you can't. He gets himself into like tricky situations, but he somehow gets out all the time. So adding Durka, especially the fact that he's our entry, he's our jet, he was allowed. He has that freedom to go off and do his own thing, and he's generally a smart player. Not to say that our other players weren't smart. It was just like that that I guess adaptability
save.
factor kind of thing.
Good
Yeah, good save.
save.
You're
Shout out
looking
to Mo
for-
and Shaq.
Yeah, looking for people that can be very proactive on their own. Is that the idea?
Yeah, he's definitely proactive, and when it comes to Magnum, he's a very good anchor, and we can rely on him to just shut down any sort of site kind of thing. Whereas with our last players, I felt like it was like, I guess, one-dimensional. I guess it was like we needed to rely on structure and whatnot to be successful kind of thing. And that's like in like First Strike, like
Or you would get out of bed, rush to your PC,
Yeah.
and you'd be ready to fight.
It didn't matter what the time is. It is like it was like so necessary. There was always like one guy securing the baseline, just holding like he had the shift, and he had all of our like phone numbers. And then suddenly, like my phone is ringing. I get up and there is like 10 people on TeamSpeak, and 9 of them are like, "Bro, oh my god, I had to wake up to defend the base."
That's a high level of dedication.
That's also, I feel like that'd be incredibly fun. I know that it
Yeah.
sounds like peak degenerate waking up at 4 a.m. to defend
Yeah.
the base,
Yeah.
but it does sound insanely fun. I can imagine doing that when I was when I had no responsibilities to do anything else.
Exactly.
What were you doing at your time? Were you doing school or something? And you were just waking
Yeah.
up at 4 a.m. and then you had to get back up for school in the morning?
Yeah, sometimes I just went to the school like without a sleep. Like sometimes like if I had a PE, I just quit the PE to get like back home ASAP.
oh
to-
PE.
to-
I thought you were talking about going to the toilet.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Uh,
I did.
Yeah, it was-
But
I mean,
think-
it's-
That is hilarious.
It seems insanely fun. I used to play a lot of, or not a lot of, but I used to play quite a bit of DayZ,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and we used to have a server where we had battles with some of the other. I think they were like, I was with a group of German people, and I think there was like a group of Russian people that had a base on the same server, and they used to try and raid us. It's like it's insanely fun because I don't know, you just feel like you're in a. It's a very us v them scenario where it gets you to bond together. I don't know.
Mm.
I understand it. I get it.
I get it.
I do get it.
I play it.
What was
Even in
that
that game's
experience
hard,
like
so-
to go from Rust? That's me
That was
playing
you,
DayZ.
yeah, that's you playing DayZ.
I think I die in this clip or something. I don't know. I don't know what this was. That's a lot of human meat that I was eating.
Oh, this was this was when I think Jaws perished, and you accidentally ate his flesh, and then you got sick and
Yeah.
died.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But that's I think what happened in that clip.
Magnum, what was the experience like to go from just being a fairly casual CS player and then going hard into Rust to going into Valorant, trying to make it in that game, and then coming into Fnatic? Can you walk me through that experience? Because that is a really unusual path to being on a top professional team.
So basically, like I just downloaded the CS:GO and I said like one day I'm gonna become a professional, but the like my setup didn't just allow it. Like playing on 100 FPS and
Right.
100 ping in CS:GO, it's just like pain. So I switched to the Rust, and I was waiting like for the game, and like by the time I moved to the like another place and where I actually got better internet and better PC, and I was just playing Rust and enjoying it. And then like I heard about the Valorant, and I just was like, I remember I got like 1 month before like the Valorant was released back to the CS:GO, and I was just grinding like aim in CS:GO. And when the Valorant got released, like made my own team, and it was just like guys from the Rust. We played together, and there was a team called Avenue, and it was like basically people who played Battleground, like they were so good in Battleground. They were like playing DreamHack, and
Okay.
like they were like top 5 teams definitely. And there was one guy which I was used to play CS:GO. His name is Lifer, and he's like 27, and he has such a like really huge backstory in CS, and he is like really good player and experience. And I remember they invited me to play with them, and that's the place where I got like most of my like experience. They taught me like how to play the FPS game, and we got on Enterprise then, like after some roster changes. Then we got released because of like not good. I mean, it was decent, but like performance. Like we almost went into the main event
Yes, yeah,
in
I remember
first try.
watching you. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember you doing some crazy double satchels. I think out of like mid-window to
Yeah,
plant on
Down
B.
yeah.
to B, yeah.
Yeah, I remember
was-
watching that and being like, "Yo, this guy's actually really good. What the hell is this?" It was creative, and it was also very fast-paced compared to what the rest of Europe was doing at the time.
Yeah, we were like really working hard, but the like between us and the org, like the esport in Czech, like it's pretty poor. Like the orgs just don't have money.
Yeah,
And I remember they told us like, guys, we are sorry. We were happy that we had you here for like such a long time, but we cannot afford it anymore. And like with bad results, we decided to disband because we didn't have like the org anymore. And I just made like my own team. Again, it was the Homeless, and we played together. And then I suddenly got offered from the Fnatic to trial. Like it was 1 week before the VCT. I just picked it. There was like I had 12 players, and first trial it was with Derke. He dropped like 40 bomb against Ben. Then suddenly I remember like the last day it was me and some like another guy, like I think it was Loras or something, and they were deciding like between us two. And I remember like when like our manager Koja told me, I'm gonna message you, we're gonna decide. And he told me, like, he wrote me, unfortunately. And that's what he wrote. And 10 minutes after, he's like, you will have to play with Doma. And I was like jumping.
that's so cruel. That's so cruel. He said, "Unfortunately, you're gonna have to play with Doma." That is.
It's funny, guy. It was funny because like to speak about our trial periods, we played with Durka and Magnum was so we did it in pairs where we tried out 2 people a day, or like 4 people a day, and then two people 2 scrims, and we played with Durka and Magnum on the very first day, and I instantly said, I reckon this would be the team, like because we saw Durka and he originally we trialed Durka as a Sova player to fill in Mo's like kind of like shoes, because Mo was like playing that Sova kind of role, and he was like. So we played Haven. He was on Sova. He did actually decent on Sova, and Mini was like, "This guy's got like good fundamentals. He knows what he's doing, whatnot." And we were like, Durka, just go play Jet, because it was Icebox the second screen. It was like, go play Jet, comfort pick or whatever, and he drops like 40 kills against BBR. And then Magnum was with us like during both of them games, and Magnum's comms were like very proactive, and he was very active and stuff like that. And I was like, this is exactly what we were missing, like on our last team. So
yeah, someone to drop 40 and someone to come a lot.
basically, yeah.
Good pieces.
Every team's missing that.
And that's what's happening still now. Like Derke, we just go scream, and Derke is like 35 kills. I'm like, yo, Derke, good job. And he's like, oh my god, I did so many mistakes. I'm like, bro, chill, you are on 35 kills.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not bad. That's a decent process.
All right, pickups.
Yeah, those are some decent pickups, and also very efficient trialing process to have the 2 new players within the first trial. Magnum, I want to ask you a little bit though about that transition from Raze to Sentinel, because I didn't watch you before Enterprise, so I don't know whether you played that beforehand as well. But when I first saw you were playing the Raze. It seemed like pretty much an entry role on that team as well. Double blast packing into areas, playing very aggressively. And then when I saw you play Sentinel as well, you had a lot of what I would refer to as TikTok setups, where it's just, you have weird cages. Like I was watching on Ascent, and you've got like a one-way for when they push through Heaven, when you were playing Cypher on that map, and you have a ton of different creative stuff. Did you just, when you transitioned to Sentinel, were you trying to just come up with as many different setups as you possibly could, or what was the transition process like?
So basically what happened, we played in Enterprise, and when I started in beta, I was starting playing Breach. Then I switched to the Sova, and I was playing like Sova for 6 months.
Okay.
Then I got recruited to the Avenue, and they were like missing Sentinel. So I switched to the Sentinel, and we bench another guy, and there was like Monster, which is on Heretics now, and he's like, he was insane Sentinel. And I said like, guys, I can try to actually play like Duelist, because we're gonna be missing the Duelist. So we played the Duelist. Our Duelist moved to the like Smoker, and Monster went to the Sentinel, and it just somehow worked. Like nothing like special between. I feel like I'm one of the players like I can really flex like on the most of the characters. Like,
Yeah.
of course, I don't like to play like Brimstone, for example, but like I can play like most of the characters in the game.
Sure. No one does really.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Keeps the game exciting as well, like being able to like play different characters, freshens it up.
Mhm.
Like I enjoy playing Sky because it gets me off the Viper kind of thing. So, but I
Right.
do, yeah.
Well, your team actually has some of the largest agent diversity on all of your players. You require people to play different stuff. So even though Magnum's saying like he is a Sentinel player, he's playing Sky when it comes to Bind as well, right? So you've got different role allocations depending on what maps you guys are playing. Does that ever get stressful to have to learn that kind of stuff? Were you expecting to come in and, for example, have to play Sky as well, Magnum?
I mean, it was stressful on beginning because I never played Sky, and they just told me like we were playing Bind, and he told like Boaster told me you are playing Belong, and that's what he told me, and I was like, I was supposed to learn how to play there, and like I feel like that position is still not my best position, but I think I'm learning, and it just takes some time. Actually, like I'm kind of lucky that it is the Bind because it's our strongest map. So my mistakes are kind of like sometimes hiding behind it.
Right.
And I think we still did good. Like even like we switched. I mean, Fnatic did good. Even they switched to players.
Yes, absolutely. And for yourself as well, Mister, you enjoy just playing a range of different stuff. Like if you're required to play a ton of different agents in the future, is that something that you actively enjoy doing rather than feel pressured to try and learn so many different things?
I enjoy it for sure. It's like I think we've got the mindset in the team is that like we want everyone to be as flexible as possible, but obviously depending on how impactful you are on like one agent, you're going to be on that agent kind of thing. Like Dirk is pretty flexible, but his impact on the Jet is just outweighs all of the other agents we can put him on. So the ability to have like a set of 5 players that can play as many agents and are willing to play and learn new agents is definitely a strong.
What is your
positive.
most impactful?
Viper, After Plant Mollies. Let's go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I play whatever. It's like, it's fun. It's fun.
I think Mystics ults are crazy with Viper. Like there are so many times that they actually like 1v5 in scrims just in the Viper ult.
Yeah, just inside a Viper ult, like a little a rat.
Gremlin.
Yeah, right. Just going in between the players and stuff. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. All right. So then, leading up to Iceland, do we want to talk? Did you have anything you wanted to talk about in regards to the qualifying run?
The
Is there
qualifying
any
run.
burning questions?
I think in general, just did you expect to go on such a hot streak? You literally went through that qualifying run. I think you lost one seeding game and then the grand final, but it's the way that Boaster keeps saying it as well is you always win the first BO3 of the final, you know, against Liquid, and then you lost the final 2 maps. But did you expect to go on such a hot streak immediately out the gates?
No, I don't know. With these new roster changes, there was a lot of excitement and like motivation there. Some people call it a honeymoon period or whatnot. But obviously it wasn't expected. I don't think that like Fnatic themselves expected it. Like adding 2 new players in such a short moment of time, like no one can expect you to come second in Masters and whatnot. You know, it's like for me, like individually, I guess I expected it after the first few weeks or the first week or so because I'm there like playing and I saw the quality of like we were able to produce.
Right.
But obviously from an outsider's point of view, I don't think they would have expected it.
Sure.
I mean, me personally, when I joined, like I remember I was like kind of confident that we're gonna qualify, but then we had the city match with Ascent, and they just rolled us over it. And I remember we got them to the bracket, and I was like, if we beat them, or if we get past to them, we are making it to the Iceland, because I was pretty sure at the time it was like top. I thought like it's best team in the qualify. And I think it still was. They just got unlucky against Team Vitality, and we got lucky that Team Vitality actually beat them. And so basically, what happened? Team Vitality matched the Ascent, and the winner of that match we were supposed to face. And it was like, I think it was like single elimination. So if we would lose that, like we are out. And Team Vitality beat them, and the next day we just beat Vitality.
The thing is, look, to speak on that, even if Ascend beat Vitality, I still had full confidence that we were going to win. Because in the seeding match we played against Ascend on that Icebox game, we had Doma go 1 kill and Durka go 2 kills, right?
Yeah.
That's never going to happen again. I'll tell you now. That Doma having a combined 3 kills between Doma and Durka just won't happen again. So it was like a once in a blue moon kind of thing. So I'm fully confident in the team, like being able to face anyone.
Right.
Yeah, it could be tunnel vision because I remember I was just getting bullied by CNET. Like it was just
That'll
insane.
happen.
Yeah,
Like,
that will definitely
Those
happen.
games will happen.
yeah, that guy is mad. Like he's insane.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, he definitely is.
How within EU at the time, how did you feel that the overall, or like, what was the state of the skill level in EU then? Do you think that this was a particularly high level of EU skill in regards to there being so many good teams?
Yeah, I feel like, from my perspective, any top 5 European team can beat each other on a good day. You know what I mean? It's like the skill gap between these teams are quite tight. It's not exactly like we're miles ahead better than whatnot. Like FPX, like they could beat us. We've seen it before, but in like compared to, for example, NA as a region, from like an outsider's point of view, I think Sentinels is that like one step higher than the rest of the teams, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to say. Like, I think it's NA and Sentinels because I'm not saying that NA is bad, but like, look on Europe, like NA scene in CS:GO just like 15% at least switch to the Valorant, and EU Valorant scene is like made from like randoms, and yeah, and like I think top 5 teams like in Europe, any team of that like can compete against top 2 like NA, like which is version 1, right?
Sure.
I get like version 1 beat Liquid, but I don't know, like it's hard to say, but I think Team Liquid would beat them again. Like if they would play them again against version 1, I think Liquid would win.
Yeah, there's definitely a large skill grouping up at the top, and not even just within Europe, but also just EMEA in general, because Gambit looked really scary in that.
They're insane.
Yeah. Yeah, although they haven't been doing well in recent qualifiers, but I never know what to think about them when they play domestically. It always, I mean, their results are all over the place.
Yeah,
I remember-
it's a weird one, definitely. It's like I've seen them lose like the small, nice Cactus tournaments and then come into Masters 2 and make it all the way to top 4.
Yeah,
I remember
crazy.
how we were playing like Icebox against them in the like deciding match for Iceland. We played Icebox, and I remember we scrimmed then, and we got like 222. Like we got totally destroyed in scrim, and we were like, they're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna think that we're gonna ban the map. So we anti-stratted the scrim. They did totally the same thing, and that's how we won like practically like, against Gambit, right?
It wasn't just the scrim as well. It was they played two sets of series against FPX before they played us,
and they did
And-
totally same.
and both and Mini just had the reads. Like they would do a certain thing, and we've been like told like before we played the series like, about the anti-strats, and we'll be like, all right, there's probably 3 in kitchen right now because they've done this, and like we just had the reads, which made it kind of simple on that Icebox game. On
Yeah.
Bind, they definitely took us off guard on their defense side because I think we had it was like a 9-3 off, and our T side Bind was generally looked upon as pretty strong,
Yeah, yeah.
and a 9-3 T side it was like rough. But our mentality is pretty decent, I'd say. Like we never really lose our heads, and we were able to keep our heads cool and bring it back in defense.
For sure.
They're actually like scary team, like that. It's like type of team like if you didn't face them before, you don't know what to expect because like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
example like that guy Nuts, he's just crazy. Like he's running between his cages and killing everybody.
Yeah,
mean,
I know
this,
that.
this is a tale we've heard before.
Yeah, we were
of
talking
the
to-
Gambit scrims.
We were talking to
Just-
Dapper and Shazam about it as well, and they were saying that one of the only teams that they, or at least for Dapper, one of the only people that he was stealing setups from in Europe was Nats, because he was like, whoa, these are creative and really successful stuff.
How does the structure work then with the team in regards to Boaster and Mini? Are they just the brain that then expels a bit of information to you guys in the games, or is it like for instance, what you were talking about, Mystic, like Boaster and Mini, they have a read as to what Gambit are going to be doing on attack, and they just tell you within the rounds. Like, what is the structure there?
So before like the game starts, they watch I think they do it individually. So Boaster watches the VODs by himself, and Mini watches the VODs by himself, and Mini picks out, for example, patterns like they do this piece of utility. This might be happening. This, watch out for this. They like to do this on certain strats or whatnot. And Bosa kind of does the same, but he can like visualize it. Because if he just relied on Mini's information, I think he likes to visualize it. So he watches it himself, and it just gives him a better understanding of how he wants to call and whatnot on the attack and get his reads on defense. And for the rest of us, it's like Mini relays this information, Bosa relays the information that they get. I watched the VODs myself personally to get my interpretation on it, and basically we just put a lot of work into just studying and kind of trying to understand how they play. But it also comes into play that you don't want to read too hard into it, because it could mess around for you or whatnot, because you don't want to be like, oh, they've done this piece of utility, but it's like a different strat that they do.
Right.
And then there's like the people on the other side of the map, so it's like we have to be careful about it, but like it's just about finding habits of like the players that we're playing against and whatnot. I think it will come to a stage where, like, for example, I'm playing against, I don't know, Soulcast on Team Liquid, and I know how he thinks, kind of thing. It will get to that kind of stage, and
You're deep inside his
You
brain.
know how he thinks.
yeah, but it could be like, be like, for example, in a clutch, I'll be like, he's gonna swing this kind of thing, and it's
Yeah.
How does he know?
Digging a little bit more into the Masters 2 Scrimbucks scenarios as well. Like before you get into Masters 2, you're on the end of the qualification run, about to set up for it. All of these teams are getting ready and coming into Iceland to go for scrims. What were you guys doing there? I heard that you weren't scrimming against other teams who were at the venue. Is that accurate, or is that just because other teams hadn't noticed that you were doing it?
No, it's actually not accurate. Like, I remember we picked, because we saw that Liquid is on other side, and we already like played against each other like so many times that we actually know like what to expect from each other. So we just said that we're gonna take them as a like scrim partner,
Right.
and we just kept scrimming like against like Liquid, and like so to get used to the like actual land ping or like the like low ping, and then we were like playing against like just Europe teams, but from the venue, we were playing just Liquid.
Right.
Gotcha.
Because I know that other people, like Sentinel, scrimmed against everybody, I feel. And Liquid said that they scrimmed against a ton of other people as well. Did you just want to hold kind of strats close to your chest and make sure that you weren't giving away things in scrims?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it was like definitely like a sense of security type of thing. Like, we're good friends with Liquid, so we feel happy to like practice against them a lot and whatnot. But the issue is that they have these like funky comps and whatnot, and we wouldn't be like, the other teams that we were facing don't have these comps, so we're like, not particularly practicing efficiently for our opponents. So that's why we branched out into the rest of Europe and tried to find these teams that would have these comps and kind of get a sense of how they would play. We kind of did a similar thing for First Strike like way back then, and we only played Russian and Turkish teams because
Right.
we wouldn't be able to play. We wouldn't be playing against them in First Strike. So it was like because we kind of like we had a lot of like things to catch people off. For example, that Viper pick on Bind, we didn't want to reveal that to anyone within Europe that we might be playing against. So definitely like that, have that competitive edge and that big brain.
Sure.
Funny how times have changed. Just trying to not reveal the Viper, and now that just became everybody. That's what everyone does on that map at this point. I mean,
It was kind of crazy, like though we were supposed to like face Liquid, and we knew that like our Aston wasn't the best. We kept losing scrims against them or like playing pretty close, and Boaster was like so depressed. So he like actually found like, let's retake the B. So he made a strat that we played for A and 1B all the time, and we had such a good like retake on B. So we just like that's how we won actually Aston. They thought that like we are playing like normal as we did in the scrims, and we actually were all the time on for A because they knew that our A is really weak. So we just played for A, and that's like how we won.
Yeah, it's funny because we come into them like we came into like the day before that, and he's like, "I fixed the scent, boys. I fixed the scent." And all he did was like, "All right, Mystic, go away."
Genius. the mind of Boaster.
Yeah,
if you can understand.
But it worked.
Yeah.
It worked. So,
Actually,
All good.
He said like, this is how we're gonna win. We like you find lineups for this and you put camera here, and that's like we won. I remember just having camera in market, and like I had all sounds from the mid, and I was just like taking care of the mid with my cam, and my trips and like stuff was on A. So I was just like hiding in the garden. And I remember we did same against Nutor, and they watched the game against Liquid. And we played as well as, and I was just in my camp, and they were walking like in front of me, and they knew that I gonna be not looking, and they just walked in front of me like to the heaven. Like,
yeah, that is really funny. I love those little snippets from behind the scenes as well, of like specific preparation and why people change stuff like that. Because from an outside perspective, you never see those scrims that you're playing repeatedly against Liquid. So when something happens that's a big change in the match and you end up winning, we don't have the build up to be able to understand the then sudden switch at the end. But that is very amusing as well. That was part of it.
So then, okay, so going in, what are the expectations then of the teams from the other regions that you haven't played against, some of which you haven't scrimmed beforehand? Like, what were your thoughts on Vikings from Brazil coming in? Obviously, Sentinels, New Turn. I mean, that they definitely surprised.
Even Crew, who you guys were playing against first.
Yeah, in the first match.
Yeah.
it was actually crazy. I remember like we were in Prague Chrome. I always ask like, I need it in my mind like to know what to think about the like enemies, like if they are really good, like in which way they are good. And I remember I asked Min like, are Crew like really good? And he told me like they are better than Gambit and then Guild, like they are on the Gambit level. And then we went in and we won like 13-2 like twice, I think. I was like, what's going on? Like what's going on? And like since then, like I think our confidence got so high, and then just like next day against Sentinels just got deleted again. But we knew that we played so close with Sentinels that we are probably the best team. And when we saw like Vikings playing Sentinels, that they got like deleted by them, that we knew that we probably like will make it to the finals if we get past the Liquid.
Right.
There was also that narrative from behind the scenes that Vikings was like insane within scrims and whatnot. I heard from Liquid, I think, and I think Liquid said they got like, I don't know, 18.
They said they got 16 wand by Vikings. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, something like that. And I was like, all right, they're either talking smack, or they're just, or they actually are pretty decent. But like when it comes to like these sort of teams, like I just look at it as like we show up on the day and we'll beat any team kind of thing. It's like that's the sort of confidence I have, and the confidence I have within our team.
I just remember we were in the like it was the first day, like we got to the venue and we were supposed to like to train the walkout, and it was us and Liquid. I was standing to the link. I was like, is that real? Like with the Vikings? Well, did you mean it like really that they beat us that much? And he was so depressed. He's like, do you mean the Vikings? Yeah, we got a 116 and like they are insane. And like his face, he was just depressed at the point when I asked him.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the other parts to this topic as well, is that I feel like this is my just pet theory from the outside as well, but it seems like Liquid and Vikings were the two teams that big time underperformed compared to our expectations. I really did not expect Liquid to be losing to version 1. I didn't expect Vikings to come in and just kind of flop their way out of the tournament as well. And those teams as well were the teams that were scrimming against a lot of other of the LAN teams and losing those scrims. I know that Liquid lost really heavily to Sentinels and Vikings in a couple of scrims. I know Vikings said to us that they were getting battered in scrims when they were playing against the EU teams as well. I feel like that could be a real blow to your confidence levels coming into a game, especially in a game that's so much about confidence. You have to have the ability to take duels at the right time and to push into areas when you think no one's there. If you play scared, you are going to lose. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Do you think there's anything to that kind of getting wrecked in scrims like that might end up just booming you mentally?
We actually didn't win single. I mean, we won scrims, but mainly against Liquid. We couldn't win actual scrim against like Europe teams. We kept losing, and Boosters was like, bro, oh my god, our performance is so bad. And then we went on the stage and we like deleted crew. And at the point, I saw in Boosters like that. I saw Boaster that he changed so much. Like at the point, it's like it just screams like we are so good that we actually gonna make it probably to the finals, and that's what happened. Like, and
there was also, I mean, there were issues with the setups as well, right? Like,
you guys playing on the 40 FPS, 2 gig of RAM PCs.
Yeah, let's just say it was that. I don't wanna hate on Riot or anything, but hopefully it's better than in Berlin. Sure. But yeah, that definitely had an effect on our scrim results.
Yeah.
So like in the back of my mind, I was like, if we lost the round due to someone not being able to get a kill or like whatnot, I'm like, yeah, it's fine, it's whatever. It's out of our control kind of thing.
Okay. I mean, the LAN PCs were okay, like they were like decent, but the bootcamp, like I was so used to play like on 140 Hz, but like Doma, I remember him crying each death. Like I died to the FPS, so Mini made actually idea that he's gonna find each guy who cries about the FPS. And I remember like Doma was like on the top. I was like, you better keep quiet or you're gonna bankrupt here.
I mean, it's a good job you guys came second. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had the tournament winnings to be able to pay off his debts.
Yeah, he's 30 grand down.
Yeah, he'd be permanently in debt to Mini.
Yeah. It definitely had to be a thing that we couldn't focus on because it was just out of our control, and
sure,
I would just need to worse practice sessions and whatnot.
Well, that also leads me to believe then that like the crew win was a bit of a bolstering for you guys. You didn't look nervous in any way when you began that game, which I mean, you came in, you slapped and absolutely dominated them. Had you started against Sentinels and kind of ended up getting put on the back foot, do you think that would have made a difference, or did you have this idea in your head that just Sentinels are a top team, even if we lose in a close game to them, we can continue through the tournament?
Yeah, I think I had that mindset that like I knew that it's not single elimination, and I was like, okay, we are team like which actually we are team like if we scrim the team or play the team and it's unknown to us like the playstyle, second time we're gonna learn from this and we're gonna come like back stronger. That's what happened with Gambit, and I was like, it's just like test. Like if we can only like shine there, like like expectations like that Sentinels are gonna win, right? So we were the underdogs. I was like, okay, like we are used to like single eliminations, brackets, and the qualification. So let's just play, and we actually showed like a close game.
Did you consider yourselves the underdogs in that game?
Yeah,
I didn't. I don't know what Mac was talking about.
No, I was talking to Mane and Boaster, and I remember like we were talking and we considered us as the underdogs. But when we actually played that close, I think it switched in our mindset that like we said that we are like on really like same levels almost. That it's like a coin flip the game.
Right. Yeah, if you put it like that, then I agree. Yeah.
Do you go in feeling like underdogs because of for like a psychological reason to feel like you have something to overcome, or did you genuinely feel like Sentinels were the better team and you would have to, I guess, overperform to beat them?
I think it's the hype, like really the hype. Like for me, hype about the NA, like about the Sentinels. I think in my mind it really made me feel like kind of bad. But when we actually played it, I was like, that's playable. Like that's nothing like worse than we faced in Europe, like actually. So I was just down to play like the finals, and I believe that we're gonna win.
Yeah, to touch up on that, it was so we had to play that extra game against Crew, and in the back of Mini and Bosa's and all of our minds, it was like they have an extra game to review on us with our recent like changes and whatnot, and like they came into the first series against us with that information, so we were definitely. I guess that's partly why we considered ourselves as underdogs, maybe.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of it, I mean, you want to talk about extra games? You guys had a fucking grueling run. I mean, you played seven games.
Matches.
I mean, was there any level of fatigue towards the end, or was it just the adrenaline of the event keeping you awake the whole time?
I was having fun. I was enjoying every bit of it.
Okay.
So I don't think I was burnt out or anything. I do. The one thing that was maybe, I guess, sort of proper issue was that we weren't able to prepare for the new turn game because we had Liquid and then 30 minutes new turn, and between that we had to like, obviously we don't know if we're gonna, like, obviously we had things to prepare for new turn, but like to come back from that win against Liquid into the locker room and just Mini bring out his phone, like, all right, here are the bind strats, here's what they do.
Actually, I think it was kind of fair though, like because Notor had to anti-strat 2 teams, and I think they considered that we're gonna lose because we lost like to the Liquid like in the finals, so they maybe like anti-stratted the Liquid. And when we played, like it was just funny, like the 15, we finished the game and we had like 26 minutes to eat, to anti-strat, and like to go into and everything. And like what we did, we sit in a circle. They gave us like some snacks, like bananas. We were eating, drinking, and Mini was like in the middle of us, like just sitting and anti-stratting. Like it wasn't like proper anti-stratting. He just said like if they drone, they like to commit on it. Like just expect like if they drone, they are not scared like to commit and like those things. So, but we didn't know the actual strats. It was only in booster set, like in back of the head. But it was pretty tough. I remember there was like the guy, like the from production, and he's like, "Go take your stuff back." I'm like, "We are playing one more game." And he's like, "Yeah, tomorrow." I'm like, "No, not right now. In 20 minutes." He's like, "What?"
yeah, that did happen. That was funny.
That's fun.
Yeah, this game was kind of wild as well, though, because it was one of the only times in which you were able to play Bind. That's what we've got up at the moment here.
Yeah.
And Newton, domestically, I don't believe they dropped a map on their entire qualifier run, but over the course of, I think it's the whole of 2021, before Iceland, they had a 90% win rate on Bind. In Korea, they were just wrecking people running this kind of old meta. It was what FaZe used to run when it came to North American games as well. But it's a good comp. It just doesn't lean into the Viper and the stuff that people have been playing most recently. That must have been a different experience for you guys, because none of the European teams play like this. And none of the other teams at Masters played like that either.
I remember we were like talking like a while ago about the Vikings. I remember Boaster said that he was talking to the Vikings and they were like, we came to the back of Europe and they wanted to switch their like comms because they knew that the meta is just stronger, but it just didn't work out. So last day before the match, they went back to the Omen, for example, on Icebox. It's not, nobody plays Omen on Icebox like in Europe. And they just went and believed that they're gonna win, but the meta is just that strong that like you cannot like argue with that. And that's what I said, that Nocturne, like they surpassed me so much. I didn't underestimate any team, but they played so good and like so original that I was like thinking if they actually played the meta, the game could went like each side, like other way. Like they played like close game with us, like with actually really all not meta comp.
Yeah. With that, going back to that Bind statement, I think we had Mini just like point out, like if they go with the drone, they like to commit with it. They like these flash dash kind of things, you know. So we just like try and keep all of that in the back of our mind, and we just play adaptive, I guess. So that's all we can really do.
And then the loss on Ascent, you're putting down to getting anti-stratted, I imagine, with what Magnum was saying earlier about the cam and stuff. Or do you feel there was more to it than that?
There's definitely more to it than that. I feel like we didn't play our game. I think comms got a bit messier and whatnot, and
I think we got tired. Like I think we got tired in the venue, and we should have won like between the game. We won the Bind, and we were like, that's easy. But like meanwhile, like in the break, we got a bit tired because we didn't like go on fresh air and didn't like actually like stretch or anything, and we just like went straight into the second game, and it was so different. Like the comps, we were just so lazy and like tired, and we lost it. We went outside and we came as a like different team again. Came back.
We're just able to reset for that Haven game.
Yeah.
It was just like a reset type of thing. Like I think halfway through this Ascent game right now, we had like a reset round, and Bosa did like his speech and whatnot, and like we got a few rounds back like since that, and like so yeah, we kind of just lost the early game with
speech.
It's just like, right, no messing about. I'll pocket Doma. Who are you picking? And we just say like a player from like their team or whatever. Like, just like it's kind of funny. And
That's great.
we had this one motto the whole tournament, and it was first team in, last team out. So we were like the first team to play in Reykjavik against Crew.
Yeah.
I guess we took it quite literal because we were the last team to get knocked out. But
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's changing that motto for sure. But yeah, we just like run off like team spirit, and it definitely helps. And
Was that a big thing that that was new for you guys? I know that you did a team kind of boot camp in Malta as well, but it's a weird environment. We've been in lockdown for COVID without any live events for what? You guys have been playing together for a year at this point. Before, I mean, not with the exact roster, but the core of the roster, Mystic, has been playing together for like almost a year. I can't exactly remember when the team formed, but it must have been a long time without actually being able to be in person in an environment where you bond on a more like personal level, and you can create camaraderie more so than just hanging out online.
Yeah, it was definitely nice to meet everyone. Like, it's like especially this being like mine and Magnum's first ever LAN, especially and Doma's and whatnot. It's just like a new experience for all of us to being able to meet each other and see how people react to what was it? I guess like boot camp in Malta, so we get to know each other and whatnot. And just in general, the experience of being together as a team was just I don't know how to say it. It's more energetic, more I don't know how to say it, but like the plan is for all of us at Fnatic is to relocate to the HQ, so we will be playing together day in, day out kind of thing.
Where is the HQ?
And London. So,
Right, okay.
Yeah, so I think we go in that general direction where we will be playing together real life, whereas online we're just like across the world, like speaking to each other. So
Yeah. You'll be able to escape the heat, Magnum.
Yeah, finally.
I can guarantee there's not going to be that much heat in London. It's going to be pissing it down constantly.
Oh, it's cold here, man. Like right now I'm in the hoodie. So
yeah. You said that it was a bunch of you guys' first LAN as well. That to me is ridiculous. There's a lot of, I mean, there were a lot of players involved in Masters 2 that didn't have the most LAN experience in the world. But when you compare the LAN experience on a team like Sentinels that were in the grand finals with you,
even Newturn for that matter.
Sure, Newturn, with Solo and Perry.
And they were just playing the qualifiers on
yes, at
already.
least in an in-person environment. Yeah, for sure. How much do you think that played into it? Like, what were the experiences like for the players where they were playing at their first LAN? Did you say it was both of your first big LAN events?
Yeah,
my first ever LAN. So I had my first boot camp before it as well. My first LAN.
Right.
So
actually, sorry.
It was a big experience. Like, obviously, I think the outcome would be a lot different if we had like the fans there in person and whatnot. Because essentially, we're just in a big. Like, my thought process was that we're just in a studio. Like, we're just playing against each other. And yes, like screaming after a round and like whatnot. Like trying to get into like the opposing teams like heads and whatnot. But I can't like fully express how LAN feels until we get the fans.
Sure, yeah. That does definitely add an extra nerves element to it as well. Like when you do something incredible and they hype you up and the adrenaline's rushing, but also if you're losing and they're silent or they're cheering for the other team, I know that can be a major thing that rattles people. But I mean, this I assume then was a good opportunity to get some experience under your belt when there aren't all of those additional pressures too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, after I think I had a little bit of nerves, like within the first 2 rounds of the Crew game, until I got killed. Like, and until I got like killed, I was like, all right, that's that, it's done, like kind of thing. And it was like a little thing switched in my brain, and the confidence was there throughout the rest of the tournament, in my opinion. So,
like I remember when I went like on the LAN, like to the Iceland, and everybody was like, "You're gonna be shaking, like you didn't ever play it on the LAN. It's gonna be so stressful." But actually, I felt there so good that I ordered the same like setup. which I
Really?
played there, and yeah, I played so good. I just switched, and like a lot of guys, like we had the mode like first team in, last team out, and it just hypes you so much. And I remember like a lot of people were I think like cringe, but it's so like it hypes you that much that like you play much better. And always when you win the round, you turn. I was sitting on the left. Always I turned to the right. I saw like the smiling faces on the guys, and just like it hypes you so much that it's so different. Even if you lose the round, like everybody I hypes each other, and it's insane. Like I really enjoyed like playing online.
What do you mean by you got the same setup? You mean like the same desk, the same chair, or what do you mean?
So basically, I asked Kojo, and I got back from the Iceland. I ordered like BenQ monitor, but it's been like 2 weeks, and I ordered the Alienware, the monitor, and I ordered like same desk, like not same, but like similar desk,
Right.
and the same arm like for a monitor. I felt so good there, like it's insane.
That's really funny.
I got back home and I was like, how did I play on this? Like, what is this?
I've never heard of someone doing that. Typically,
No,
people
I
just
haven't.
I've only heard of people talking about the LAN setups in regards to them not being comfortable because they want to be back in their basement of the home setup. That's what I've never heard about it this way.
Is that because your home setup was a bit janky, or
his home setup was? I don't even know how he made it to Fnatic on. He played on 144 hertz.
What do you
he
mean?
played on 144 hertz, and he had 140 frames. His desk was like, it wasn't even a straight desk. It was like a Z-shaped desk. I don't even know what his desk was. And his monitor was like shifted to like 30 centimeters to the left when he sent me a photo of his setup. And I was like, how have you made it here? And I was like, how have you made it to this position? I was like, fair play, mate. So yeah.
I had such a problem like with my FPS that like I had 140 FPS consistent, but when it came to the icebox and there was 2 Vipers, they started shooting on each other like the mollies. My FPS actually sometimes drop on 70, and it was just crazy. I was just praying with closed eyes and praying that I hit somebody. Like sometimes it was unplayable.
Yeah, it just goes to show that anyone could do it. Magnum's like a prime example. So.
Yeah, I'm going to ignore that because I get low frames and I blame it on everything. And unfortunately, the problem with that is I've just ordered a new CPU and I'm going to install it, and then I have no excuses. And then
you have to look inward, and that's annoying.
Exactly. I have to look at myself and what I'm doing and the decisions I'm making and the skill I have. And that is uncomfortable reflection for someone who is terrible at the game.
You can always blame it on like the sun glare or something. There's always something.
Bad map design, honestly. Breeze is just not a very good map.
I got a cold kind of AC running down the back.
Oh, you can't play with cold hands. That's the gamer's worst nightmare.
Yeah, my hands are actually hot and clammy, so that's even worse. Yeah, it is really interesting though to talk about like the online game versus the LAN game as well. I know that when we talked about the Phantom and the Vandal a little bit earlier, we talked about some of the differences about holding angles and stuff. Was there anything else that felt different with the game on LAN?
I would say like it's the LAN, like the sound. It was something different. Like sometimes you were like standing to the next guy. There was Viper wall. He was running behind the wall, and you just didn't hear it.
Right.
Like but it's the LAN. Like I think it's just
sound
the LAN
was definitely. It's just a new environment. Like as everyone says, like not you're gonna have to get used to this sound or whatnot. Like it's just a fair amount of things to look out for. I mean, I think you had an issue with your monitor or whatnot, and you didn't say anything. Like, I think we played Crew, and I don't know, because we were like winning it on a roll. Magnum, and we found out till after the game, Magnum had an issue and take a tech pause, I beg you, kind of thing. But
what was the issue?
Basically, my screen, it was just like, I don't know how to say it in English, but it was just like, when you have like your graphic card is just old and it's just like
tearing.
dying. My monitor, my screen was tearing, and sometimes it went off and just like straight like back. It like for half of a second.
It would go black for a while. It would just turn off.
And I was like, I don't want to end this momentum because before we started the match, I said it to the admin. They switched the cable and it took like 15 minutes. I was like, bro, I'm not calling admin back again because we're gonna spend like another day here fixing that. So I was like, I'd rather keep my momentum and win like this, and I wouldn't mind. And that actually happened again against Sentinels in the finals. The thing is, we started the game on Icebox, and it wasn't even like, no, it wasn't the finals. It was the second map, I think.
Right.
And we played the Icebox as a first map, and the game didn't even start. They were like, they freeze the time. I was like, admin, I need tech pause. My screen is tearing. And they took it as a tech pause, like as a tactical one, and it was like 11-12 on the end, and we wanted to pause, and we were like on spawn, and it was like 10 seconds, and we thought that they paused. And suddenly it was light, and we were staying on the spawn like without any like setups, and we were like, admin, why did you not like pause it? And he was like, we took the technical pause as a tactical. And I was like, what? What's going on? Like my screen is black. Like how can you take it as a tactical even when we wrote like technical?
Yeah, that was like a big issue we had at the start. Like we're talking about the first series we had against Sentinels on Icebox, and we had. So basically what Magnum was saying is that we had a tactical pause taken off. So we get 2 tactical pauses.
Yeah, right.
And we had one taken off of us as a mistake because it was a technical pause.
Yeah.
And we tried to use our tactical pause in the round 24, 11, 12 against Sentinels. But they didn't give it to us because they thought that we used both tactical pauses.
Right.
And our setups were just like a mess. And then they came up B-long, killed Durka, whatnot.
You've injected life into a new excuse that the rabid Fnatic fans will be posting all over the internet.
Yeah, the admins are. Yeah, it's rough, but
that is unfortunate, though.
Yeah,
that is unfortunate.
That's the kind of stuff I feel that happens at the first LAN event that hopefully will get ironed out over time as well. Yeah. Where like mistakes like that. I mean, in the same way that you guys haven't had LAN experience, I assume the admins have not been doing live Valorant LANs very recently as well, and haven't really fleshed out their workflow. So hopefully that improves, as with the like practice PCs and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I remember because Magnum played Stretch on this LAN, and he had like a issue, and then the admin was like, League of Legends players don't play Stretched, and we're there just like, this isn't League of Legends, this is Valorant. And I'm like, oh, whatever. It's like, I guess
maybe someone in League should try it.
Yeah,
might help them out.
And again, actually, I remember with the screen, like we somehow fixed it and it stopped, but it was just pixelated. And in the finals against Sentinels on Split, it came again, and we started the split. And I'm like, my screen is tearing. Can you help me? And that man was like, get your teammates to fix it. I'm like, bro, they are not techniques. They don't know what to do. And I'm like, can you get somebody like I don't know, somebody to fix it? And he's like, just get your teammate. He's going to fix it. I'm like, he doesn't know how to fix it.
Because your teammate fixed it previously?
No, he did not. Like admin, and suddenly like,
he just didn't know what to do, so it was just like, maybe your teammates know what to do. But let's just stop bashing about the Riot people because we're gonna get banned from the next event. And we're not
yeah, but I was
never gonna be an event. Fnatic also banned.
But I mean, also these things are important to kind of call out if they do occur in the first time, because you want them fixed for the next time, right?
Yeah,
like it's not like you want some punishment added to the admins. It's just that you want it to actually run smoothly the second time around. And I mean, hopefully Riot have learned from stuff like that, because using League of Legends PCs as the Valorant practice PCs is obviously, to anybody who plays Valorant, a problem and should have been sorted out earlier. Hopefully they fix it as well. I want to hone in a little bit though on the grand finals against Sentinels. So when we were talking about the opening game against Sentinels, you guys had slightly differing opinions in terms of like your expectations coming into the game. It seemed like Magnum was saying that when he was talking to Boaster and Mini, that they felt like they were underdogs and they had, something to prove, whether that was the hype of North America or whatever. For you, Mystic, it felt like you just had confidence that you were going to be able to beat them no matter what that first time around. But coming into the grand finals, it's a different beast, because you've seen Sentinels wreck everybody in the upper bracket, and you know that you played them close that first time around. I think both games were like 13-10. At that point, you know that you're the second best team there, at minimum, if not the best, if you can get that win. what's the mentality coming into the game? I want to start with you, Mystic. Like, how did it differ from the first game to the grand finals?
I think the grand finals, the whole team's vibe was like just full of confidence. Like, I think we focused on the fact of how close our first series was against them and didn't pay really any attention to how well they did against the other teams. Because we lost that first series like very close, and the finals, I guess, but they 3-0'd us. But we took them to overtime on 2 maps, and it just goes to show how close skill-wise we were to them. So we definitely had the confidence back in us, and we definitely felt like on another day it could go to us, that win. Or, you know.
What about you, Magnum? What were you thinking coming into the game?
I mean, we knew that we are playing the first map as a split, and I was like, I had like winning mentality, but when we actually played the split, I was like, we might lose that because like it's their best map, right?
Okay.
But when we actually started winning, like we were so close to the win. It was like 12-11, and they were on eco, and like much before, I was like, we might win this. Like it's so like they are real playable again, and I had like the winning mentality. But then unfortunately we lost like against their eco like on 12-11, and it just went like downhill that map. And I think if we would have won like their best map split, their mentality would get like broken.
Yeah.
And the bind should be in ours. Like if we won the split, I think because of the mentality.
Can you run me through this final round, actually? Kurt, if you wouldn't mind bringing that back up too. Because this was like it felt like in this finals, there were multiple moments, actually in both series though, but there were multiple moments where they were like key decisive rounds that you guys just couldn't quite close out, or it also felt like Sentinels would pull out some magic in these big moments as well that just caught you guys off guard. What was it like being inside the match on these kind of rounds where they have 2 sheriffs and a stinger and it slips out of your grasp?
Actually, I would love to see like how many rounds they won with the sheriffs, because it was scary to play against them when they had the sheriffs. Like they somehow always just got killed. And I remember Boaster called on this round, just go away. And if you saw the minimap, there was only one. And then he said, no, fuck it. Like let's go like safely. And then something happened. I just was like somewhere saying I was just chilling, and then I see like 2 teammates died, and it just went downhill. But we still played the overtime, and the things just didn't work out. But as well, like we knew that is their best map. It was supposed to like be bind second, so we thought we gonna win, but they were prepared. We lost, and yeah, the Haven, like Mystic right here, AK
team flashed.
Yeah,
but yeah,
we were going to mention that.
Yeah, that's right. It's to talk about this round. I think is what you're asking. Is
yeah,
the idea was to bait utility on B, because like we because we know they're on low buy and whatnot, and to get rid of a little bit of their utility is nice. But we just lost Durka and Boaster through mid, whereas if we just like all grouped back up and B and executed together, it would have been a different story. So it was just like the little mistakes, like maybe it's down to like experience and whatnot, just cost us that round.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just remember first goal was like by Boaster rush A, and then on last seconds he was like, no, that could be stuck. So we got like for utility bait, and then like this happened. But it's unlucky. Like I think as Mystic said, like they are much experienced players than us, right? And it's not like about the last rounds, but there were like many more rounds that we actually shouldn't lost. But it was caused mainly because of the experience. But I think we should be proud on us. Like we competed against like one of the best CS players with huge experience, right? We still did pretty good on their best map.
Okay.
So I guess looking back at it now, in a general sense, what is the one thing that you guys would have liked to have changed that you did in this series?
This series? I think like sometimes like we have Boaster as a caller, and when he dies, like he's trying to tell the people what to do, and sometimes that's a bit chaotic. And I think we lost like 2 rounds because of that. Like mainly me, because like Boaster told me like do that, and it was actually a right call. But I didn't think like about the other things like which like will happen between I'll make the call like between the meantime, and so I just like really misplayed it, and I would love to change like the eco rounds. Like we lost so many force like against sheriffs, and that was insane, the amount of the rounds.
Before Mystic replies, I just want to drill into that point a little more from Magnum as well, because the two teams are constructed in very different ways. Even though people think about Boaster and Shaz as being somewhat similar, because a lot of them do like heavy prep work behind the scenes themselves. From what we were discussing with Sentinels too, they have a very spread kind of structure. Like I think they give a lot of power to their players to go and do their own thing, whereas it feels like Fnatic's a little more top-down. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but it feels like from the outside that Boaster's doing a lot of the calling, not necessarily micromanaging everybody, but a bit more than a team like Sentinels, who are a bit more loose or free-flowing, where if one person sees an opportunity, they'll call the entire rest of the round to kind of go in that flow. First of all, is that even an accurate interpretation of how Fnatic functions? And do you feel like that's something that's sustainable as you move forwards, or are you trying to get more of that burden away from Boaster so that you can be a little more flexible in the rounds?
It's actually a good point, and I think it's really like true. Like Boaster is like always trying to control us. Like in the clutch season, like when it's 2v2, he's trying to control those two guys, like what to do and what's the best play. And I think there is one player, and it's Derke, who has like the free hand in that right. We just believe him that like he's insane, he's really experienced, and he knows what he's doing. That Boaster just like tells him like just go kill, do whatever like you are confident in. But then I'm really important, like that my setup is actually like making the strategy. So he wants me like to make sure, he's making sure that I'm doing the right setup, and he doesn't like gives me like totally free hands. He's like, be there and play like how you want it, but make sure you are holding that, and that's right. Like how it works. But he mainly controls like the clutch situations and the comps in that.
No, I do agree on the narrative that like Sentinels are definitely like rely on their individual ability, or like they are a little bit more loose and stuff. Like we do follow this like kind of detailed structure like approach to the game and stuff, but like you did say, I think we don't know if it would be sustainable, and we're looking to improve every individual on our team in order to make them smart decisions, them correct decisions, without having to go through like a teammate's like opinion or whatnot, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, that's like that's what we are trying like to focus on. I remember like Mini, like what he tweeted about it, that Sentinels like their fundamentals like insane like compared to us, and that it's like one of the things like most important to work, but it's just gonna get better by the time. But meanwhile, it's the Boaster who's controlling. But that's what Mystic said. Like we are trying to work on it, but still sometimes it's necessary like for Boaster to come in the like clutch situations.
Right, yeah. No, I just thought that was it's a really interesting dynamic between the two teams, because a lot of people think that the IGL should control a lot of the game, and there's a lot of IGLs that do that, and they are super successful. And so, I mean, Fnatic has been extremely successful as well, but a very different approach from the two top teams. I want to go back to Wyatt's question, though, and pose it towards you as well, Mystic. If there was one thing from this series that you wanted to shift, or maybe from the tournament as well, is there some specific thing that comes to mind?
I think Magnum touched up on the eco rounds, the silly rounds that we shouldn't have lost. That definitely came into play. I remember that one round against Liquid where Link TP'd back to B with a judge in his hand, and it just completely went over our heads, and we didn't.
Yeah.
Like them sort of rounds, and just being more, I don't know, I guess. What's the word? I guess like calm and more disciplined.
Like disciplined?
Yeah, disciplined, I was going to say. Disciplined when approaching some of the rounds.
Yeah. Is the chaotic element the reason then for a lot of the lost eco rounds, you think? Like, is it like too much communication where people are losing an understanding as to what needs to be done? Is it individuals lacking discipline against the lesser guns?
Yeah, I do feel like you can tell, sometimes you can tell a LAN round compared to like an online game round. Like sometimes it gets a little bit messy and whatnot. So I do think that's like touching up on the LAN versus online. It can get messy, whatnot, because there's just so many things that are going on. Like it's just that environment. Whereas online, you're at home and you're comfortable and whatnot. You know.
I wanted to ask as well, in the grand finals, TenZ played like a freak. He went. I'm gonna keep bringing up this stat every time I talk about him. He was 19-2 in opening kills. He had 19 first bloods and he only died first twice, which is just absurd. How do you play against a player like that? Like, did it feel like that was happening during the game, or was that just a stat at the end where you're like, what that happened? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Which one was it?
That's definitely how I took it. It was like,
same.
For me, it didn't feel like that was the case until like I would open up the leaderboard and I wouldn't look at the kills because like that's not what I'm focused on. I'll look at like the ult orbs and whatnot, like how close people are to ults and their like economy and whatnot. And then like one time I glance over and I see him at like 30 kills. And I'm like, it doesn't even feel like he's got 30 kills kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't know. Obviously he was a big impact like against us, but in the game and at the moment, it didn't feel like it to me anyway.
Exactly. Like I had same problem. Like I mean, not problem. I didn't feel like that. I just like didn't even recognize that he dropped like 30 frags on some map. I remember playing Icebox. I was like, that guy is so passive. Like he's not doing anything. And then I saw the stats and I was like, how? And I feel like it's mainly because like he's not that type of the guy which is hunting the kills and like trying to get the highlights. But he's really smart. Like sometimes he's so patient in holding angle, like which is like totally unexpected because he's playing the Reyna, that it's so good that it gives you like the first kill, but it doesn't continue in another like 3 or 2 more kills. But that's where he's really strong, that he knows like when to stop. I think that he gets the kill and he doesn't need the more, like he just stops.
Yeah. Right. That was a big difference maker for Sentinels in this tournament, I think, because when you watch TenZ domestically, he was hunting those kills and getting punished for it as well. So when we were talking to the Sentinels guys, they said that they and TenZ really made a concerted effort to try and rein that in and make sure that he was playing as smartly as possible. How do you, when you look back over the series, both series against Sentinels, what do you think is the major reason that you weren't able to actually win a single map against them? Because even though all of the games were super close, you had 13 10s in both of the original games. You had OT on Split and Bind. I mean, every map was really close. But at the end of the day, you weren't actually able to take any of them. Is there one big thing that you can boil it down to that just stopped you from being able to get over the finish line on any map that you played in the 5?
I don't know. For me,
rounds. Like for me, like I feel like we lost on each map, like at least like on each half, like minimum two like against 2 sheriff rounds. I remember we won, like for example against Liquid, I think we won like each pistol, and we lost like each like force after it. They just forced and ran us over and took like the pistol advantage like from us, and I feel like that's like our like weakest side. Actually, like winning against the like force buys and mid like half buys, and it would be such a difference. Like if you take like if they force and you win that round with much better buy, it like makes them to play another recon. It's like another free round, right?
Yes,
so,
yeah. I looking back on it, I can't really like point it down to like one specific thing. I feel like there was a lot of reasons why we weren't able to take over the edge.
Yeah, so I agree on that. But I think like this is like one of these most important things we have to work on.
How far away do you think you guys are then? Because if someone just looked at the results of, okay, Sentinels didn't drop a map against a second place team, they're probably a whole tier above them. It's Sentinels and then everybody else in the world. But when you actually dig into the maps, you realize that they were insanely close. So from your perspective, how close do you guys think you are to Sentinels? How close do you think you are to the best team in the world right now? What is the gap looking like there?
think we're reasonably close. Obviously, I feel like in our team right now, we still have that massive like skill ceiling that we can improve and catch up with this team. I think we're close. Like I said earlier, I think on another day it could have been a different story kind of thing. Maybe we could have won. Maybe it might have been closer, 3-2 or whatnot. So I do think we're rather close, but we're just gonna have to keep like putting in that work and grind to make sure we catch up and eventually overtake them.
Same kind of thing, Magnum?
Yeah, I agree with Mystic.
Gotcha. Anything else from the event that surprised you guys?
Don't know. You got anything to say, Magnum?
No.
I'm trying to think of something cool.
Like any of the teams that you think overperformed expectations, or
like for me, Nocturne like that. Like Nocturne. Yeah. I would just point out Nocturne. Like for me, it was like I don't like to underestimate, as I said, like any teams, or regions. But for me, it was Sentinels. And when we actually played the Nocturne, like I didn't get why solo. But they played so good. Like I just still cannot believe it. I remember when we finished the game and we won. I said like that was hard. It's like it was insanely hard to play against them. Like they have such a specific and smart like playstyle. And I was thinking at the moment when we won that if they actually played the meta, I wouldn't say that we would won. I just didn't know. I would say that it would be like really hard to win against them if they played the meta.
I also say shout out to the production level as well. Like I looked back at like the streams and whatnot, and the production looked pretty good. Like, Riot did do a good job with that.
They did, yeah. They had you guys in very edgy locations as well. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they gave you like the little Viper green smoke glow around you.
That was cool. No, it was like a white smoke and like we had a
green light.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But they took us to this like industrial, like I don't even know what it was. It was just like an industrial like compound thing.
Yeah, it was like something with electricity, like
power plant or something.
Yeah, exactly. And they said that it was built in 1945, and since then it hasn't been like touched like that. It's still working, but nothing changed there. Like I
think they used it. I think I heard that they used that like facility to film like for
movie.
Film stuff. I think it was Interstellar they mentioned.
Yeah. Interstellar.
But yeah, it was a good experience and and obviously like a first experience for me and Magnum. So
did it make you hungry for more? Did you enjoy the?
Yeah, I enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but Berlin is also going to be nasty good as well. The EMEA format actually changed slightly for Berlin too, and it gives I can't remember it off the top of my head. Is it 12 teams or something in the EMEA finals? Something like that?
Oh, for just I don't remember.
Is it 12? EMEA, I think it might be 16 for EMEA.
Yeah, 16, I think.
Sorry, I'm sure I've got it wrong because I was trying to remember.
And there are 4 slots for EMEA to get to Berlin.
Right. What do you guys think about that?
It's good. Like obviously more teams the better, especially for Berlin. I think we've got how many teams at Berlin? 12 maybe? Maybe it's 12 at Berlin or 16
I think
at
it's
Berlin.
16 at Berlin.
Yeah, it's 16
at Berlin. So I think more the merrier. I definitely would like to see like, for example, like the more Korean teams and whatnot. So it was definitely a pleasure to play against these different regions. It was fun to see how they interpreted the game and how they played it.
Yeah, just like the guy called Patipan, he's such a crazy. I remember like we were playing and we saw each other and he had like the hand warmers and we were winning like 8-1. And that guy, they had tech post and the guy was just like juggling with the hand warmers and I was like, what he's doing? And he's like,
he was juggling with the hand warmers, and as a joke I wrote in chat, "Yo, throw me a hand warmer," and I genuinely thought he was gonna throw me a hand warmer across the whole stage. But yeah, it was fun meeting these new players as well.
Yeah, definitely. Before we close, I want to get some of your thoughts on the recent EU roster shuffle. So there've been a bunch of different teams that have swapped around pieces and parts of their rosters. The first place I want to begin, actually, is a team that you were bigging up, Magnum, when you were talking about your qualification run. And you were saying that Ascend you thought was like a top tier. Sorry, it might have been Magnum, it might have been Mystic. I can't exactly remember which of you said it.
It was me.
Yeah, you were saying that you still thought that Ascend was an extremely good team. It's just that Vitality ended up knocking them out. Ascend have made one significant swap, essentially, sending Coldamenta over to G2 and getting Zeke in return. And I thought Zeke would end up IGLing for them. In reality, apparently that's Bonecold that's taking that over. How do you think Ascend is going to change? Is this a good move for Ascend overall? Does it change the needle either way? Does it stop them being a top team? What's your thoughts on this Ascend new roster?
I think like Zeke is a really good player, and I think it's a good replacement like for Coldamenta. Just like there is gonna be like difference in the calling, but I think they're still gonna stay like the top team in Europe.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, obviously getting rid of Coldamenta is probably like a big change for them in terms of like you're just changing you're changing your caller, so team will probably be like have to adapt and play differently. And who knows, it might be better for the team, might be worse for the team, but we just have to see. I'm looking forward to seeing how they perform.
They seem like they've got some crazy skill on that roster. Like it's just a cracked roster.
Yeah, I agree. Zeke's fragging potential is definitely up there. And I like how Bonecold plays as well. He's decent. So yeah.
And I want two main ones then, just G2 and Heretics.
The first one is G2 though, because I think G2 are really the team that's caused all of these things to occur. I mean, maybe you could say Heretics have caused it because they were looking to implode a little bit, and so pieces became available on the market.
That's a crazy way to. They were looking to implode, really.
They're looking like they were going to implode. Maybe that's.
I don't think they were looking to actually self-destruct.
What time is it? It's time to implode the roster. Yeah, but the G2. I mean, G2 is normally the person that's throwing the money around in the European scene. That's how they started with their first roster as well. I want to pose you this question. Does this G2 team look like a European super team? Do you think that they're going to be above the rest of Europe in the way that they are attempting to with the pieces that they have assembled?
Hard to say because like I don't know what's actually happening there. I saw that Fifth should be replaced by keloqz. And it's kind of scary, like if they do that, if they replace him by keloqz, it should be like such a like firepower there. But it's hard to say. Like it also depends like how they're gonna mesh together, right? I remember they had such a problem with the colors back in the days, and now it's like on Coldamenta. Like how is he gonna do it? Like
they recently played a LVP tournament, I think.
Yeah, against
and they I think they fell short and they already lost an official, but it's early days as well. Like you can't really. I know we did it with our like a week before our qualifiers or whatnot, but
not everyone can be Fnatic.
Not everyone can be Fnatic, obviously, but like they still have time to prepare. Still like a we're still not far from like Masters 3 or whatnot, so we're excited to see these new rosters and whatnot. I kind of excited to see how Heretics performs now. Sure. I do kind of like, I do like the look of that roster, to be honest.
Do you think that they look better than G2 or Ascend? Are they if just on paper, from your expectations, do you think they'll be at the top of the three?
For me, yeah. In my opinion, I think Heretics will be on top of the three.
For me, it's Asun, G2, and Heretics. I think I didn't like G2 and Heretics swap the players. They did, right?
Yes, they swapped a lot. So Heretics roster currently, it looks. I mean, they have Ardis and Paditek, and then Lowell has stayed on the team, and they've added two more players as well, Alorante and Monster.
Yeah, I think that's good roster, but I think the G2 like from that trade still comes like better. I think it's hard to say like Mixwell is switching to the Sentinel from Jett. He was playing for a year at Jett, and like switching just to the Sentinel like this, like it's not easy thing. And like on the paper, for me, they look much better than this roster, but in reality, it could be like totally disaster like for them.
We don't know. It's like I said, we would have to see them play. But I think where it stands right now, in my opinion, I think these three teams are around the same skill area. Like, like they're in the same tier, I'd say. Or not tier, but like they're definitely contenders. But to say that they're like a super team, it's hard to judge right now.
Right.
So do you think EU is just going to end up in a place sort of like where it was in the previous qualifier, where you had a group of teams that could all potentially beat each other, but now just with even more teams, I suppose?
Well, maybe not even more
but
teams.
You just throw an FPX and Guild in there, I guess.
And Liquid.
Sure.
See who comes out on top.
It's been so quiet. Like we were like on Iceland, all those teams were pracking hard, right? And I think like FPX won their spot actually. Like now in the Berlin, and they had to prack so hard. And I think like FPX is gonna be one of those teams. Like we should be like excited to see them play.
Yeah, I know. we always are.
Listen, the FPX copium.
This every time.
the copium is high on this show, and they it doesn't always work. I mean, you guys are literally one of the reasons why it doesn't work always, because you boomed them at first strike, which I don't want to put the guilt on you guys, but that caused me a lot of pain personally.
Sorry, my bad.
No, it's a lot of fun watching Europe. I'm interested to see actually whether the viewership goes up at all, because Europe didn't actually end up winning Iceland, which I thought would be the major factor for people to be very interested in it. But with you guys going so deep, and then like I know Boast has been streaming recently and getting like 4K viewers compared to what was he on, like 300 or something before he went to Iceland?
Not even that, 100 probably.
Yeah. So it definitely has increased awareness of some of the European players, but I don't know whether the interest in the scene will be increased as a result of that as well. Have you noticed anything yourselves? Any of you lot going viral in China by singing ukulele songs?
Yeah, did you hear about that? I heard about that the other day, and I was like, "What? That's crazy!" But I mean, fair play to both, and yeah, I do think like Europe's like, especially with this NA versus Europe rivalry, it just draws a lot of attention. That's why I kind of like threw around like jokingly saying that Sentinels are copycats, because I was just like throwing it around and people took that to heart. But yeah, with that narrative, it's just gonna keep growing, and as Valorant grows, we're gonna grow. It's just good to see.
If you had to pick one team, Magnum, that you think is gonna make it to Berlin with you, actually. How many slots are there? There's 4 slots.
4 for EMEA.
Okay, there's 4 for EMEA. I want you to give me hot prediction, Magnum. Who are the other 3 teams that make it aside from Fnatic? And they could be a Turkish or a CIS team as well, right? Because they're going to be in the mix as well.
I think it's Gambit, us, Ascent, and I would say like one of those, like I think it's Guild or G2, like for me.
Oh, okay. And FPX, they flump again.
Yeah, you're leaving out a lot of teams here.
I'm really excited like to send it, but like how they play, they actually like always choke like against like in the real matches.
Sure.
So I don't want to like tip them there.
Sure. What about you, Magnum? Sorry, Mystic.
Got to keep my Liquid brothers up there. So us, Liquid, potentially Guild, and I would like to see FPX. I want to see those 4 teams represent Europe.
All right. I'm excited either way, man. It's just going to be wild. We've got a new patch. We've got a new agent at some point before Berlin.
Getting predictions as to who's going to Berlin. By the way, new agent going to be in by then. New map that still hasn't been played.
New patch.
New biggest patch yet.
Yeah.
Everything's going to change.
Yeah. Probably be none of those people.
Yeah.
It'll just be Fnatic and 3 teams you've never heard of that make it there. Very possibly.
Possible is possible. Anything's possible.
It really is. The game's going to be crazy. Best of luck on your qualification run as well. Obviously, talk to Sentinels about this as well, but you came second at Reykjavik, but that doesn't help you. When it comes to Berlin, you still got to go through the grind as with everybody else. So that's going to be pretty crazy. I wish you the best of luck in terms of getting on board with the new patch change and all of that crazy shit that's going on. It sounds like you're pretty prepped on Breeze as well. But thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
As well.
It's been a pleasure as well.
And if you're interested in catching up on later episodes, you can follow our Twitter at Pladchat Podcast. Subscribe to the channel as well. Smack the subscribe button. And we'll have another regular episode coming out for you on... do we normally
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
The day that we've done every episode for the last 30 episodes.
Yeah, Wednesday. That's what I said. We'll see you Wednesday.